Okay. One Piece chapter 1143 blind review. And this is interesting. Interesting. So there's more to the Loki and Hadruden situation than I thought. Interesting. I think I see where Oda's taking this. I really do. Like he's playing up the internal conflict with Hadruden's character because Loki's saying, like, they said that I killed dad and I had nothing but pure evil intent in my heart, but you don't necessarily believe that yourself. And this comes after we have a moment where Luffy's like, I saw how bloodied up he was and I got business with him, make sure you heal him up enough. And then Luffy is told, like, if you take him to the village where he needs to go to get fully healed, this can be one of those situations where they're going to kill him on sight. And between that and the flashback, like, it's pretty obvious where they're taking this, I think. I think it's pretty obvious. Oda is getting ready to subvert expectations and swerve us later on. I'm kind of looking forward to where Oda decides to rug pull us. It's not going to be now. It's probably going to be like when we get to more information with Shamrock and we probably see Shamrock versus Loki. I think that's probably where we're going to get that big reveal. But man, I like that. So let's just back things up. First and foremost, absolutely love the cover. The Straw Hats, they're basically like racing on water and everything. Love the designs there. Like, if I had to rank them in order, I like Luffy's, I like Nami's, I like Usopp's better. And then like Zoro, it's kind of blasphemous because blue's my favorite color, but like Zoro will be like the next one after that. And everybody else they just kind of go in the bag. Everybody else kind of goes in the bag there, man. Like I didn't talk about the Yamato thing. Like, I know I need to do better about talking about the cover pages. For reference, you guys have told me in the past, make sure I pay attention to the cover pages. So I am paying attention. When I do get caught up, I'm going to go back and look at all the cover pages because I understand it's a story within a story. It's actually something I ironically told somebody that is getting into One Piece. Like, hey, like when you read, make sure you pay attention to the cover stories because they're all subplots. So I am aware. I just don't necessarily talk about them because at the end of the day, like I read the chapter and then I just immediately go back to off the top of my head, like a blind reaction, give you my immediate thoughts and impressions. And so I do write down what happens on the cover pages and jot down some thoughts, but I also kind of feel like that takes away from the experience, so I may change that approach. I'll probably change it when we get to like an actual review, when I get caught up and I'm able to sit down and like fully script out my thoughts, kind of like I do on the Anime Explain channel, which used to be Kryptonian saying, and like I do on the Naruto Explain channel where I do the reviews. So, we'll probably do something like that, even though this will be more podcast style until I can afford to put editors on this channel for reviews. So backing all the way up. So I did like how we opened this chapter and we get to something that I didn't think was a big deal last chapter, which in hindsight, I feel like a fucking idiot for not thinking it was. But basically Saul notices that the kids, they're sleepwalking. And so he tries to stop them despite the fact that he is reminded by Nico Robin, like, hey, do not touch these kids. If you do, you're going to get bloody. And I thought that was like a one-off. Foolish, silly me, because I understand, like, okay, like this was going to happen. And sure enough, as soon as Saul tries to put his arms around one of the kids, and basically try to wake him up, shake him up, basically, these thorns pop out. And he just gets completely just cut up. And Saul falls over in pain. And I like that we see this. And later on in the chapter, I think we see which of the holy knights that Sanji's probably going to fight. But basically, we get another update. And they're talking about the fact that all the kids have fallen asleep, which we already know, but you got to restate it. And we get extra information. Out of the kids that fell asleep, 9 of them have started walking and nobody knows where they're going. Nobody except for the villains. And so we get another update and we see Nami's people and everything. Like they're getting update about the fires and they're learning about the kids suddenly going off. And we get the moment where, like in the Western Village, they're really starting to freak out because like they're going, like my kid's here, my son's there, they're getting caught up on this stuff with the monsters, and then other people are figuring out that like parts of Elbaf on fire. And you have the comedic moment where old boy is like, oh, that's the school my granddaughter's granddaughter goes. How many generations is it? It's like that's when you are wasted when you can't even do basic math at that point. So I did think that that was kind of funny, like that's where you use Nami's character there because she can, play the Sukin bulk role very well. She's the corrector there. But as they begin to go off, the firefighters are going off, they're going to put out the fire and they're super dead set on it. But then you see this giant skeleton. And I think that's the one that Brooke's going to fight. But you see the giant skeleton and it just knocks the ship completely out. And you see more as the giants like freaking out at this point. And then we switch over and we see St. Sommers. And St. Sommers has the thorn fruit. And this is why I do think that he and Sanji, I know somebody's like brilliant prognosticator. He's talking about love. That is like the most surface level connection. Well, God damn it, that's what I thought of when I looked at it. But he starts talking about, love and about how every love has its thorns, which that is such a poetic thing that somebody like Sanji would definitely be able to connect with that. And I just want to see more of these two characters when they do mix it up because it's going to happen. I want to see them in a position where they end up having some kind of discourse on just romanticism in general. I think that that'd be a really good fight. And the other thing on it too is because Sanji's body is modified in the way it is, kind of feels like he would be the best person to fight against the thorn fruit. And I did like the moment where as he's trying to just talk about love and agony and giving these examples about how kids are hugging their parents are hugging their kids tight and they're screaming, and then the kids basically see like the parents penetrated by the thorns and how their parents are gonna be dying in agony as a result. It's very poetic again. Love, roses have thorns, beautiful flowers, etc. And as he's trying to talk to Gunko about it, she shows no interest in it. He just falls over. Again, another reason why I really want to see him and Sanji into it. But he has an interesting line there where he says no interest, no pun intended there. When I said interest, I said interesting, but he says no interest, the woman who never knew love. And it kind of makes me think like if Luffy does fight Gunko, which he might not. Like Luffy's probably gonna mix it up with somebody else, but I kind of want to see Gunko and Luffy fight. Like that's something I really, 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 really want to see. And what I like here is you get a moment where she starts talking like, there's a straight line, a pretty much straight line from the Owl Library, the Walrus School, past Western Village to the port. And, she's just like, they'll be here in due time. And, we get a moment afterwards where after St. Sommers, falls asleep and everything, and they're doing the salt, and we learn about, the food, about how it's dream food, which that's like, okay, now I see how the kids had the dreams, etc. But, they have the moment where they talk about how like the giants ride the rainbows in the sky. And so St. Sommers, like he's already counting, his eggs before they hatch. And he's like, this is so easy, like, why did we have to be here? This was completely baby level stuff. Like this is super easy. And that's when we just see more of why Gunko was, saying Nika worries me, because she says like, I saw a pirate ship and that ship was Straw Hat Luffy, one of the emperors of the sea. And it's like, I see what you're doing, Oda. I like it. Like, I kind of feel like we're not going to see Luffy and Gunko, but man, I really want to see that fight. I really want to see that fight. Or at the bare minimum, I want to see her watch Luffy fighting. Like, I need to see that interaction now. Because it does feel like, dreams and monsters, fear and things of those nature, all that's going to end up playing a role in one of the sub themes in the battles that are coming ahead. So we see the kids and they're following the arrows and they're walking further in, and then we transition over and we see and I totally messed up in the last one too. I called Loki's hammer Mjolnir, and it was Ragnir. And it's like, okay, totally messed up on that. That's my MCU brain kind of kicking in here. But basically, Loki is still talking his trash. And you see the ones that really fear Loki, you see their fear and you see their concern. Like you see Gerd, and she's like, I hope that no one in the Sun World gets hurt. Others are saying, like, Luffy, who's this in giant drag, not dragon, giant, I believe it was Sanji that says it. And Loki, that was our first sign that not everything was as it appears, because he says that, you can't even lift Ragnir. And Loki was huffing at that. And it didn't really hit me that, like, his injuries might have been as bad as he was laying it out to be. And, Zoro kicked him at first. And Zoro was testing it out. And we see more of that observation with Zoro. And again, in hindsight, like, this guy's bleeding like crazy. I should have known better. But just given how strong he came off in the last couple of chapters, I truly thought, like, okay, like, this is going to be like a big drag him out fight. And so when Hadruden starts to step in, Zoro's like, just stand back, stand aside. Luffy comes straight in. Luffy is going right in for the action, and he just takes him out with one hit. One hit, gum air balloon, and Hadruden falls over. And this comes after Zoro is saying, like, hey, take it easy on him, Luffy. And at first, I thought I misread it, because it's like, Zoro, I know the racist memes are out. I'm like, is he racist against the Giants now? Why is he saying take it easy on him? Wait a second. If he's racist against the Giants, then he'd be telling Luffy hit him harder. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? And I'm like, oh, snap. Was he really that hurt? Because I kept rereading it. Because Oda put so much emphasis in the speed lines around Zoro's face, but he bowls go easy on him. And I'm like, did they mean to say don't go easy on him? And then when I turned the page, and Zoro's like, he really was at death's door. And it's like, damn. So he was bluffing. And that's some cold shit right there. I like that. And basically, we get the revelation, like, if his bluff would have worked, it was just about prideful. For him, it was just a matter of, I'm going to, go lick my wounds in private. Like, I don't want to be chained up here any further, which that's like a warrior's mentality. You got to respect it. Whether or not you like Loki's character, I know that he's being presented in a way where we're supposed to find him utterly foul. And, to a degree, I do. But I also understand, like, with Oda, you can't necessarily be suckered in, because there's always a plot within a plot with how Oda does things. So I did like a lot how we got this built up. And, we just see as Luffy saying, like, hey, I don't want him to die, heal him up. I don't care what he did in the past. Gerd is saying, like, until he's fully healed, that's going to take months. If you take him back to the village, he's going to get executed. Luffy is told, like, they hate him that much. Luffy learns why the horns are how they are, and it's because he has the ancient giant blood. We get the flashback with Hadruden and with Loki and, with King Harold and everything. And he's like, I want you guys to work together to support Elbaf long after I'm gone. That's just more foreshadowings coming in. But you also see how Hadruden is just thinking back to all the insults that were, given towards him and his mother by Loki, which that's kids being kids. But, trauma is something that does kind of sit there with you. Grown adults hold on to trauma from childhood. So I do like that Oda explored that. And you see Loki's talking out both sides of his neck in real time, because he's like, go ahead and do it, you sad little berserker. And it's like, I get what he's trying to do. Because on one hand, he's like, I want to die a warrior's death. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die a warrior's death. I can't go off and have my pride and collapse elsewhere. So if I got to die, I'd rather this guy just take out revenge and, I just go after losing a fight. It is what it is. But then he also kind of shows that willingness to want to cling to live, because he does say, instead of, thinking about your petty drama, look around us. They say that I killed our father out of pure murder and hatred and evil in my heart. But you don't believe that, do you? And that coming right after that flashback does lead me to believe that things are going to get patched up with these two. I do think that things are going to get patched up. I don't necessarily believe that Loki is as evil as he's being built up, but Loki is a trickster. So, I like this, because there's so many different ways Oda can take this. There are so many different ways, and he is dropping breadcrumbs. So, and like the way that his arcs go, like things will be funneled. We'll get an answer eventually in this arc, but I'm intrigued. I'm genuinely intrigued here. And so that's gonna be my chapter question, you guys. Like, when you were going through this, did you think that Loki truly was as injured as he was letting on? Or did you fall for it like me when, Zoro just kicked this guy and was like, oh, okay, he was completely faking? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching until the end. Have an awesome day, guys.